hand-rubbed satin blade, carbon fiber with copper shred, caged ceramic bearings. If a woman had those specs and I wasn't happily married, I'd take her out. But it turns out I don't have to buy her dinner after all, because those specs come from the knife we're reviewing today, the WE Kitefin limited edition. So let's go inside and take a closer look at this knife. Hello and welcome back to Blade Insider, where we discuss all things knives. And today we're reviewing the WE Kitefin limited edition flipper knife. Kite fins are typically made with titanium scales and S35 blade steel. Now there are a number of improvements with the limited editions, including CPM 20CV steel and carbon shred scales with either brass or copper flecks. It's one good looking knife. So we're going to take a closer look at this knife in general and more specifically at the limited edition. But before we do that, I'd like you to consider subscribing to this channel if you haven't done so already. We're building a community of knife enthusiasts to share their ideas about all things knives, and we would like you to join with us. We put out new content every week, so ring that bell to be notified of our new videos. The WE Knife Company is a Chinese company founded in 2000 to provide OEM manufacturing services to the cutlery industry. In 2016, they started their own product line and offer a continuous line of new and fresh designs. Some of these designs are somewhat radical though, but everything is made with high quality. WE also has their more budget-friendly brand, Usability knives. Usability is well known in the knife industry for several great designs, including the Elementum. Usability incorporates great designs that are often scaled back WE designs and includes mid-tier steels like 154 cm, VG10, and D2. If you don't own a Usability, you owe it to yourself to try them out. It's the best 50 to 60 bucks you'll spend. WE knives are typically over $200, but a couple other designs are starting to hit that $100 to $200 range. First, the Manter by Ben Peterson is manufactured by WE for about $100. That's a really good knife. Next, the knife we're reviewing today, the Kitefin, which typically goes for about $160. This is a titanium knife with S35 VN steel. So the WE line will typically upgrade the scales, design, and blade steels on their knives. These two knives are important as a gateway into WE knives. Usability has its own fans already, with its great designs and very reasonable prices. A couple things holding WE knives back are some of the radical designs, price, and the fact that it's a Chinese company, asking customers to pay several $100s for their knives. Both the Kitefin and Banter are important to get customers into the WE ecosystem. The Kitefin is my second WE knife. I own the Banter as well. There's a lot to like about this company. First, the packaging is great. And for those of you that don't think packaging matters, would you spend $1,000 on your iPhone if it was wrapped in bubble wrap and stuffed into a brown envelope? When you buy nice things, you expect it to be in a nice package. But the packaging doesn't mean anything if the knife isn't any good. I bought the limited edition version of this knife. It's limited to 320 pieces. Two characteristics compelled me to get the knife. First, it's shredded carbon scale with copper flecks. That carbon fiber is really sharp. Next, the hand-rubbed satin blade. Remember, the blade steel is upgraded to 20 CV steel, and the hand-rubbed steel really makes this knife stand out. WE does some of the best hand-rubbed steel in the business, and it shows up in their knives. Let's go to the bench and take a closer look at this knife. We rate our knives using 5 categories: design and aesthetics, carryability, materials, usability, and value. We assign each of these categories a number between 1 and 5, and then give the knife an overall score at the end of the review. Our first category is design and aesthetics. Let's look at the knife. The most striking feature is a carbon shredded scale. It has a carbon flex embedded within it, but the scale is very slick and it feels plastic. Now the pivot has a WE brand on it, and the flipper tab has minimal jimping. It's not too aggressive. The spine is open with a titanium backspacer, and on the clip side, you see that it's all titanium frame lock with a deep carry clip. The clip is titanium, and you can see that the clip where it connects to the scale is not recessed within the scale. And that really was a budget choice by WE Knives. Now on the regular versions of the Kitefin, they have bronze accents within these circular cutouts. They don't have that on the limited edition. But the clip, if you look closely, has a very cool, I think, anodized pattern on it, which is nice and sets it apart from the other knives. Opening the blade up, it's on caged ball bearings. We see that it's a drop point blade with a flat grind, and you can see the hand rub blade. Now, there's no billboarding on either side of the blade, which I think is a very cool design choice by WE. But I do love this hand rub effect on the knife. So, strictly speaking, from a design and aesthetics standpoint, this knife gets a 5 out of 5. It just looks great. The carbon fiber scale, hand rub blade, I think sets it apart from the competition. The next category is carryability. Let's run the tail of the tape on this knife. The blade length is 3.24 inches. The cutting edge is 2.68 inches because of that choil. Closed length is 4.25 inches, and overall length is 7.49 inches. We have the CPM 20CV blade. It's got the titanium scale on the back with the carbon fiber scale on the presentation side. The pivot assembly is cage ceramic bearings, and it weighs 2.61 ounces. Let's see how the knife fits in a pair of jeans. You can see here that the knife is fairly thin, leaving you a lot of room for your phone, keys, and wallet. The clip slides in very well into your jeans. And again, you have a lot of room in there. However, you do have this flipper tab sticking out, so I'd be cautious to put your phone in the front pocket of your jeans for fear that it might get scratched with that flipper tab. For carryability, this knife gets a 4.0 out of 5. It's nice and light. It has that deep carry clip, and it's relatively thin, but it's not the smallest knife, and it doesn't fit in the watch pocket of your jeans. It also has a flipper tab, which may rub against your hand or phone. Let's look at the materials in this knife. The regular Kitefins use S35 steel. This limited edition uses CPM 20CV steel. Let's compare these two steels with each other. S35 rates a 5 out of 10 for ease of sharpening, an 8 for edge retention, 6 for toughness, and 7 for corrosion resistance. 20CV steel ranks a 2 out of 10 for ease of sharpening, 9 for edge retention, 6 for toughness, and 7 for corrosion resistance. The takeaway is that the S35 is easier to sharpen and maintain, but the edge will last longer on the 20CV steel. As for the other parts of the knife, the scales are copper shred carbon fiber. It has a sheen on it, and it feels somewhat like plastic. Now, scales from ZT and Benchmade have almost a texture on them, and they feel warmer and softer. The rest of the knife is made from titanium, And this titanium has some type of design to it that gives it a used, kind of almost antique look to it. We got anodizing on the clip. It turns out to be very sharp, the titanium side as well as the scale side. For materials, this knife gets a 4.5 out of 5. WE Knives has put top materials in this knife. The scale looks great. It just has a somewhat disappointing feel to it. Next, we look at usability. Let's talk about how this knife handles. I can fit 4 fingers on the handle with my large hands, and you can see that the handle pops out of my hand. However, when I choke up on the knife using that choil, more of that handle sticks out, and I have greater control of the blade. Now, in terms of bearing down on the knife, you can definitely feel that clip in the palm of your hand. It's not uncomfortable and it's not a pinch point, but you can feel it. The scales are all chamfered and there's not really any hot spots there. We have some minimal jimping here on the frame lock, but it just adds to traction. It doesn't feel uncomfortable at all. Now the blade is very thin and has that flat grind. Let's see how it cuts. Probably one of the sharpest knives that have come from the factory that I own. For usability, this knife gets a 4 out of 5. The knife lacks a little bit in warmness, but it's such a beautiful knife that I don't know how much I'll use it for daily tasks. Not the fault of the knife or its maker. They just made it too pretty. But it is very, very sharp and made out of premium materials. The last category is value. The regular version of this knife is about $160. This limited edition was $200, but on sale for $180. So is it worth $180? Packaging on the product is premium. Materials are premium, but there are other 20 CV knives out there that are cheaper or priced the same. The Kershaw Dividend is one of those knives, priced at about $80. The TRM Neutron is about $200 in the carbon fiber flavor. But the scales on the Kitefin are distinct and the blade is hand rubbed. This sets it apart from these other knives, and as a slicer, it works out real well. I think it's undervalued at $180. I would give it 4.5 out of 5 for value. It's not a super deal, but I think if this knife was made from Benchmade or Spyderco, it would sell north of $200. The overall score of this knife is 4.4 out of 5. It's a real solid knife from WE Knives. It will add pizzazz to your knife collection with the scales and the blade finish. WE Knives is really putting out some solid product if you look past some of the more radical designs. But this is not a knife that you carry every day and definitely not something you put in your toolbox. So what do you think of the Kitefin? Does a Chinese designed and manufactured knife bother you at all? Will you buy only American knives? And are you confident that the American-made knives are actually made in America? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I review all the comments and respond to as many as I can. This community that we're building together thrives when we all participate and learn from each other. So consider subscribing to this channel. We put out new content every week and would love to have you back. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Well, that's it for this week. Remember to be responsible, be respectful, and be happy. We'll see you next time.